balls, man. I'll tell you, this is
Oh,
one of the most
couldn't believe
disgusting,
that.
shameful performances I've ever seen from a Tennessee athletic squad, especially one that is this good right here. And, I don't want to throw shade at the players. They had a bad day, stuff like that. I'm sure it's bothering them much more this morning than it's bothering me. I don't know how it could be because it's been driving me crazy for 24 hours now. But this was a disgusting performance. Man, they got dominated from the opening tip. Mississippi State was the more physical team, looked like the team that wanted it more. When Tennessee had everything to play for right here, playing you probably just make your championship game, and you're probably going to be that final number 1 seed. Now that's out the door. You're going to be a 2. You're going to get put in a tough bracket somewhere. It's a much tougher road now for you if you're Tennessee. So with everything on the line right there, and kudos, shout out to Mississippi State, had a great game plan. They have beaten us twice now. They beat us down in Starkville earlier this year, and then wound up thumping us yesterday. But they had a great game plan that was executed to perfection. Those guys came out, played great team basketball, won every 50-50 ball. And Tennessee, when Dalton Connect struggles, there's some alarming things I learned from this game yesterday going in the tournament. When Dalton Connect struggles, who I think is the best player in the country, I know they're going to give the Player of the Year award to Zach Edey, but Dalton Connect is going to be the best NBA player that is in college basketball right now. And when he struggles, you need those other guys, those veteran guys, to step up, make plays, make shots, be comfortable with the ball in your hands. I didn't see a single player in Orange yesterday, including Dalton Connect, that looked comfortable with the basketball in their hands in a key spot right there. And there wasn't many key spots because you got blown out from the opening tip. We tied it at 2-2. They went up, scored the first, but we tied 2-2. That was the only time we were even the rest of the day, man. It wasn't even close. And so that was one of the most disgusting performances of me I've ever seen from one of my ball squads right here. And, no team has ever lost their first game in a conference tournament and gone on to win the national championship. That has never, ever, ever happened. So when you're picking your bracket, y'all, and look for your teams and your future bets, know that. Teams like Arizona, Tennessee, Creighton, Duke, all those teams that lost their first round game in the conference tournament, they have never gone on to win a national championship in college basketball history. So make sure you keep that in the back of your mind when you're picking your winners for this thing. What do you think about this game, Steps? I was fired up, man. I was so mad I didn't even watch no more ball after this.
Yeah, I didn't watch
Arizona. Hey, by the way, Arizona won their first game of the conference. Yesterday was their second game.
Was their second yesterday?
Yep.
Oh, well, whatever. They're not winning anyway.
Also, real quick, shout out to Loki for the $2 Rumble Rant. Need best pick from each of you right now out of all of today's games. Going to do a nice parlay. Okay, give me a minute. I'll be back. We'll give you one.
All right. Go ahead, Steps.
I didn't see. Was this a daytime game? I didn't get home till late last night. When I flipped it on, I watched IU Nebraska. So, but I did check the score of the Tennessee game, and they were getting blown out. I was really surprised by that.
It was a whipping, dude.
God, that stat you just gave there on the first round, never winning the tournament. I know that's a bad stat, but most of those teams they were probably not a good team when they were losing those first rounds.
Well, that's not necessarily true, man. It just usually winds up giving you a much tougher road. Like here, example, for Tennessee and for Duke, you wind up usually falling down a seed line, which automatically gives you tougher matchups, usually in a geographic location that is less favorable than the other one would have been. So, it just usually winds up adding a lot more to it. And it makes it much tougher, man.
Yeah, I think the thing about NCAA basketball at this point is with mid-majors and transfer portals and all that stuff, a lot of the mid-major teams have solid rosters. And talent's a little bit more spread out now versus back in the day when the true blue bloods dominated the tournaments. Now you see 15 seeds upsetting. We've seen a 16 seed win. You see 14s, 13s, you see it happen. You see some double-digit teams make it to the Final Four or the Elite Eight. So
last year our Final Four was 2 5 seeds, a 4 seed, and a 9 seed. Look, I looked that up yesterday. If you asked me, didn't all the favorites make last year? And I was like, no, man, Florida Atlantic made. Well, I went back and looked at that bracket yesterday afterwards, and we had 2 5 seeds in Miami and San Diego State, a 4 seed in UConn, eventual national champion, and a 9 seed in Florida Atlantic. So, no, sir. When I went looking back yesterday, there were a plethora of upsets last year.
Yeah. So I just think it's difficult from any spot at this point, in college basketball. And, and it's only going to, continue down that road and maybe thin out even more if players continue to transfer different places and move along with coaches and whatnot. But NCAA is volatile, dude. It's just like it's hard. It's hard to consistently win in NCAA basketball. Tournament time, I think you can take advantage of it a little bit more just because players are a little bit more locked in versus, a Thursday night road game at Minnesota,
and look at for some of these going into brackets, y'all. When you look for some of your upsets, things like that. Look at the location of the game. Steps talked about some of those group of 5 schools that have very veteran rosters that still have some talent on there, some guys that have played together for a while. Look at the location of those games. You might find, and I'm just going to give you an example here. I don't even know if this has a possibility of happening, but we'll say somebody like a Furman or something down there in South Carolina, and they'll wind up getting put in a region or something like Greenville, and they might be playing a team like let's just throw out a team out there, a big team out west. Let's say a Washington State or something like that. Sometimes in those spots, you'll see that where a higher ranked team has to travel across the country to go play against a mid-major team that's got a pretty solid roster that's only got to travel 2 hours down the road or whatever. And granted, their fan base, they're going to bring some, but that's still a big deal, man. When you get sleeping, basically sleep in your own bed, or you're not far from, that's a big thing in college basketball. So look at these smaller schools that are going to be playing within a couple hours of their home campus.
Yeah, and if you look back at the history of the tournament, those smaller schools typically, like you said, have a more veteran roster, like FAU, the Loyola, those Florida Gulf Coast, those teams that have
St.
success in the
Mary's.
tournament. Yep, they're mostly, they've been playing together for a while. So, yeah, you got to look at that. I think you bring up a good point, because those teams they'll travel well, and they'll bring a little crowd, and then who doesn't love an underdog if you don't have a dog in the fight? Because most of these games overlap, and people are watching these games all day, so they'll get behind a dog in these stadiums.
Yeah. Speaking of that Furman team, that was one of the big upsets last year too. The 13 seed over a 4 or 14 over a 3, whatever, they beat Virginia in the first round.
Yep.
So what's one? Let's go back to. Let's finish recapping these. All I did was rant about my Vols for a minute. Houston blew the doors off against Texas Tech. I knew this was gonna happen, man. I think I'm gonna bet Houston again today.
Houston's good, dude.
They are really good, bro. I feel like I always kind of slight them a little bit. I don't know why, because it's not like they shy away from anybody, especially now in the Big 12. They played a lot of meaningful games against a lot of really good teams. Last couple of years, when they were still in what was it, A10 or AAC, whatever it was. And I was kind of like, I can't look too much in that. But they were still making runs to the Elite 8 every year, stuff like that. But this team right here is built different, man. They got some elite players all over the floor. And I think Houston is, oh boy, they're playing good at the right time, bro. I think they're going to handle business again today, too. I like Iowa State. That total's really low today, and I think I want to go over on it. It was at 121 and a half. It's gone up to 122. It doesn't take a lot of points to get over 122 right there. I know these are 2 elite defensive squads, but I feel like today you also got some elite scorers on both teams that can make some things happen. You ain't got to work real hard to get over 122.
Yeah, Houston will surprise you too. I mean, they scored 82 there. They'll put up some points. You'll think about their defense and how they can stop other teams and shut other teams out, but then they can come out and do that sometimes and score 82 points.
And even when they blow out, man, they'll still wind up. You just, it's human nature to kind of, when you're just blowing the doors off somebody, to kind of back off. They'll let those teams, the defense will lack up a little bit. They'll save a little extra energy for that tank. You'll wind up seeing these other teams shoot some threes late and pick up some trash points right there. Just because Houston defense lacks up a little bit in blowouts. But I'm telling you, that Houston team, man, I think I'm going to bet a minus the 5 again today. I do like Iowa State, and it's always scary taking some favorites, but I've been looking more lately at the picks. I'll make 4 or 5 picks a day, and I'm looking at favorites that I really feel good about. I love those 7 to 9.5 lines, bro. I feel like those are money in favor of the favorites.
You done ranting about your Vols or what?
Yeah, I'm done.